You did not arrive here by accident. Something far beyond coincidence pulled you into this moment. Out of millions of people scrolling endlessly, you were the one who stopped here, right now. That choice was not random. It was the quantum field itself, arranging synchronicities so precise that they guided you to this very message. In quantum language, this is called selection. In spiritual language, it is destiny. Think back to the subtle signals you have already felt, those moments of déjà vu, when time bent and you were certain you had lived this scene before. Those synchronicities, when numbers repeated on clocks, when a thought of someone triggered their sudden call, when events aligned in ways too exact to dismiss as chance. Each of these was the field whispering, "Pay attention." You are being guided. Even clicking on this video was not your decision alone. Something in your consciousness recognized a frequency match, it felt magnetic, almost impossible to ignore. Perhaps you even thought, this video chose me. And you are correct, because at the quantum level, your attention is not passive. It is an act of creation. For years, you have been told that observation means simply watching. But today you will see the deeper truth: to observe is to collapse. Your consciousness is the spotlight that selects one possibility from infinite potential. Every time you focus, reality itself reorganizes around that choice. You are not just a witness of life, you are its architect. There is a hidden key inside the observer effect, a layer most scientists overlook, and most seekers never discover. Once unlocked, it changes everything. You will no longer see reality as something happening to you. You will know it as something happening through you. So breathe deeply and steady your heart, because this message is more than words on a screen. It is an activation, a signal that your awareness has reached the exact frequency required to understand what comes next. From this moment forward, you have stepped across a threshold. Once seen, this truth cannot be unseen. Once known, it cannot be forgotten. This is not coincidence. This is your invitation to awaken. Have you noticed how certain patterns in your life seem to repeat endlessly? The same kinds of conversations, the same disappointments, the same struggles that circle back no matter how much effort you make to change them. It feels almost as if existence itself has become a broken record, spinning the same track over and over. This is not bad luck. This is not personal failure. This is what quantum researchers call an observer loop, a cycle where your consciousness keeps collapsing the same probability waves, producing the same version of reality again and again. Every morning when you wake, your awareness scans for what is familiar. Without realizing it, you lock onto the same emotional signatures, the same thought patterns, the same energetic templates, and the moment you give them attention, they become real once more. Observation is creation, and unconscious observation becomes unconscious creation. That is why the harder you try to escape old patterns through force or willpower, the more tightly they seem to hold. You are still observing them, still energizing them, still collapsing them into your timeline. Think about how time has been behaving differently for you lately. Moments of routine stretch endlessly, while weeks vanish without progress. This is not just poor memory or distraction, it is temporal distortion, a clear sign that your consciousness is circling the same probability tracks. Time feels stuck because your awareness is recycling the same loops, rather than exploring new frequencies. You may have noticed déjà vu in conversations, saying the exact words you swore you already said before, with the exact outcome repeating itself. You may have noticed synchronicities that feel less like magic, and more like reminders that you are walking the same circle. These are signals from your higher self, showing you the loop you are caught in. And yet, the very fact that you are noticing these repetitions means something powerful. Your sensitivity has increased. Most people remain trapped without ever realizing it. They live and die inside unconscious loops, convinced their fate is fixed. But you, because you are here, because you are resonating with this message, you have reached the threshold of awareness where the loop can be broken. Here is the paradox. The loop does not persist because you are failing. It persists because your consciousness is powerful. The attention you give to familiar emotions, familiar fears, familiar stories is so strong that it keeps collapsing them into existence. This is why problems often seem to multiply when you obsess over them. Your observation is electromagnetic weight, bending probability toward the very reality you wish to escape. Your relationships have mirrored this. How many times have you attracted the same kind of partner, the same dynamic of misunderstanding or disappointment? How many times have your financial circumstances repeated themselves? No matter how many strategies you tried, these repetitions are not coincidence. They are the observer effect in action, your unconscious observation collapsing identical possibilities again and again. Even technology begins to reflect this loop once your consciousness becomes sensitive enough, your phone showing the same patterns, your social feeds echoing the same energy back to you, music aligning eerily with your mood. It is not random. It is coherence between your attention and the field. And here is the liberating truth the moment you see the loop. It begins to weaken. Awareness itself is the first crack in its structure. The loop thrives in unconsciousness. The instant you recognize the repetition, you destabilize its hold. That recognition you feel now, the strange resonance in your chest, as these words land, is the signal that your higher self has been waiting for. Most people will never experience this recognition. They will continue to collapse the same waves without knowing why life feels so repetitive. But you are different. Because you are here. Because you are listening. Because you are beginning to understand that reality is not solid, it is malleable. And you are the observer who shapes it. Right now, you may feel a subtle urgency, like pressure building in your system. This is not anxiety. It is what physicists call phase transition pressure, the same way water vibrates intensely before it turns into steam. Your consciousness is heating up, approaching the precise frequency where the observer loop can no longer contain you. So if you have felt stuck, repeating the same experiences, know this: you are not broken. You are being prepared. The repetition was training, strengthening your sensitivity until you could finally recognize the loop itself. And now that you see it, the cycle is already dissolving. This is the beginning of freedom. There comes a moment when repetition gives way to recognition. The loop you've been circling no longer feels like coincidence. It begins to reveal its structure. What once felt like random struggles or uncanny events now feels purposeful, almost designed. This is the stage of recognition, when you finally realize that your experiences have been training you to awaken to the observer effect. Have you noticed how certain things happen too quickly to be explained by chance? You think of someone, and almost immediately they reach out. You imagine a scenario, and within hours you find yourself walking into it. These are not accidents. These are micro-manifestations, small but undeniable signals that your consciousness is no longer simply observing passively. It is actively shaping the field. Dreams have also shifted. They no longer feel like scattered imagery, but rehearsals. You witness events in your sleep, only to see them echo in waking life. These are not predictions. They are practice sessions in the quantum field. In your dream state, free from the density of matter, you are learning how to navigate probability streams with pure observation. When you wake, the field reorganizes itself to match the frequencies you have already rehearsed. Sometimes you catch yourself staring with such intensity that the world around you seems to respond. People may ask what you're looking at, but you cannot explain that you are not just looking. You are observing in a way that bends possibility. This is the activation of quantum observation. It feels subtle, but it is profound. You are beginning to sense that your attention has weight, that it magnetizes probability toward the outcome you most engage with. Your emotions amplify this effect. When you observe through fear, fearful outcomes multiply. When you observe through love, loving outcomes flood your reality. You've already witnessed this, how anxiety seems to summon exactly what you hope to avoid, and how joy opens doors. That logic cannot explain. Recognition means you finally understand. This correlation is not superstition. It is the direct operation of the observer effect through your emotional frequency. Time itself has begun to shift in response to your attention. Hours dissolve into minutes when you're in deep focus. Or minutes stretch into what feels like hours during states of heightened awareness. This is not just a trick of perception. It is evidence that your consciousness is beginning to operate at the quantum level, where time is flexible and observation shapes the flow of experience. Your intuition has evolved as well. What once felt like gut instinct now feels like direct knowing. You no longer guess outcomes, you simply recognize them before they arrive. This is not psychic fantasy. This is your awareness perceiving information from the field before it collapses into form. Recognition is the realization that you are sensing probability itself. And perhaps most importantly, you've begun to notice glitches. Moments where reality flickers when mirrors reflect a version of you that feels unfamiliar. When conversations replay as if scripted. When technology responds to your mood as though alive. These are not malfunctions. They are the visible signs that your consciousness is accessing multiple timelines simultaneously, brushing against alternate versions of reality before selecting one. All of these experiences are markers that your observer key has activated. You are no longer trapped in unconscious loops. Your attention has gained coherence, and the field is responding faster and with more precision. What used to take years of effort now happens in days, sometimes in moments. The difference is not technique, it is awareness. Recognition is the turning point. Until now, you have been collapsing realities without realizing it, creating both wanted and unwanted experiences based on unconscious attention. But now you know, now you see the mechanism in action. And once seen, it cannot be unseen. Once recognized, it cannot be undone. This is why your shift feels irreversible. Think about the isolation you endured. The jobs, relationships, or circumstances that ended suddenly. At the time, it may have felt like loss or rejection. But in truth, it was quantum quarantine, a protective separation so that other people's unconscious observation would not interfere with your activation. You had to be refined, alone if necessary, so your observation could develop without distortion. Every waiting period that felt empty was actually incubation. Your consciousness was learning how to focus without desperation, how to observe without collapsing fear-based probabilities. Recognition means you can finally see those seasons for what they were, training grounds for conscious observation. And here you are, standing at the threshold of full activation. You can feel it even now, a subtle intensity behind your eyes, a tingling awareness in your chest, a magnetic pull in your attention. These are not random sensations. They are the signals of your nervous system recalibrating to operate at quantum sensitivity. The truth is simple. Your observer effect key is active. Your consciousness no longer merely watches, it collapses, shapes, and directs reality with every moment of focus. Recognition is the acknowledgement that you are the architect of your timeline. And with that recognition comes responsibility. For now you know whatever you observe with intensity, you amplify. Whatever you resist, you attract. Whatever you love, you multiply. Recognition is the invitation to wield this power deliberately. This is not theory. This is happening in you right now. For years you've heard about the observer effect. You've been told that when consciousness observes, the wave function collapses into a particle. That reality is shaped by attention. It sounds profound, but for many, it remains abstract, almost like a mystical footnote in physics. People repeat it like a mantra. Observation creates reality without realizing the deeper truth. The truth is far more radical. Before you observe, you choose. This is the hidden mechanism that has been overlooked. Observation is not the starting point. It is the second step. Before your eyes ever land on the world, before your mind focuses on a possibility, your consciousness has already tuned itself to a frequency. That frequency determines which slice of reality you will even have the chance to collapse. The observer effect is real, but it is only the shadow of a more profound quantum shift. The selection of frequency before observation. Think of it like a radio. Turning the dial is not the same as listening to music. You can only hear the song after you've chosen the station. Likewise, you can only collapse reality after you've tuned your consciousness to a specific frequency. Most people live their whole lives turning the dial unconsciously, never realizing that their station is on repeat. They keep collapsing the same outcomes because they never change the frequency they embody. This is why willpower often fails. People try to think their way into new realities, to visualize harder, to force attention toward their desires. But the hidden truth is that reality responds not to your surface thoughts, but to your embodied frequency. You cannot simply observe abundance if your entire system is still vibrating with lack. You cannot observe love if your nervous system is resonating with fear. Consciousness does not create from what you want, it creates from what you are. This is why surrender is so powerful. Letting go of the old self is not weakness, it is frequency shift. The caterpillar cannot become a butterfly by flapping harder. It must dissolve. Your old identity, your old stories, your old emotions are frequencies of past timelines. As long as you hold on to them, you will keep collapsing those timelines into existence. The hidden truth of the observer effect is that liberation happens not by forcing new observations, but by embodying a new self who observes differently, and here is where coherence enters. When your heart, mind, and body align, they generate a coherent electromagnetic field. That field is strong enough to tune you to an entirely new frequency. In that coherence, observation becomes effortless. Reality bends around you, not because you demanded it, but because your entire system has selected a new probability stream. This is the hidden quantum shift. You don't just observe reality, you originate it. Have you ever noticed how, when you are deeply centered, reality seems to reorganize itself? People treat you differently. Opportunities appear. Technology aligns. Synchronicities cascade like a domino effect. This is not coincidence. It is the field responding to the frequency you have already embodied. The observer effect is only the visible surface. The real transformation is the invisible selection you made before the observation ever occurred. Scientists stop at the wave collapse, but mystics have always known there is a moment before collapse, a silent choice where consciousness decides which layer of possibility to even look at. This choice happens in the stillness between thoughts, in the quality of your being, not in the content of your mind. That is why meditation, surrender, and embodiment practices are so powerful. They tune the station before you even start to listen. This is also why many manifestation attempts fail. People focus on visualizations, affirmations, mental repetition. But beneath those surface efforts, their nervous system is broadcasting a contradictory frequency. They are trying to observe abundance while embodying scarcity. They are trying to observe freedom while embodying fear. The universe does not respond to words. It responds to coherence. Recognition of this hidden truth is the turning point. Suddenly, you realize that the observer effect is not just about collapsing what you look at. It is about aligning with the frequency that determines what you are even able to look at in the first place. This changes everything. It explains why your old efforts sometimes failed, why patterns repeated even when you tried to think positively. You were trying to change the song without changing the station. And now, as you read these words, you can feel it. That subtle hum in your body, that quiet knowing in your chest, that recognition that you are tuning right now. This is not intellectual, it is cellular. Your system is shifting into coherence, and the field is beginning to respond. Think of the times when you felt like reality was fragile, almost translucent, as if the walls of existence could dissolve with a single thought. You weren't imagining it. You were brushing against the hidden layer of the observer effect, the moment before collapse. When the choice of frequency is made, That fragile feeling was your higher self reminding you you are not trapped. You are choosing. Even the struggles you endured make sense now. The relationships that broke, the jobs that ended, the identities that dissolved, they weren't punishments, they were frequency purges. Your old self had to be stripped away so that a new frequency could emerge. The universe was not taking from you, it was tuning you. Right now, you stand at a precipice. You are no longer just someone who has heard of the observer effect. You are someone who has touched its hidden layer. You understand that observation is not the root, it is the branch. The root is the frequency you embody. Once you shift that, the entire tree of reality reorganizes. And here is the declaration. This loop ends now. Your shift is irreversible. The observer effect is no longer just an idea in your mind. It is an embodied truth in your system. You no longer collapse unconsciously, you select consciously. You no longer wonder if you can change your reality. You know that you are already changing it. Breathe this in. Because from this moment, the hidden truth of the observer effect is alive in you. You are not observing reality. You are creating it. You now understand the hidden truth of the observer effect. It is not enough to observe. You must embody the frequency that selects what you will observe. So how do you shift? How do you step out of the unconscious loop and begin to collapse timelines that actually serve your highest self? The answer lies in one word: coherence. Coherence means that your mind, your heart, and your body are no longer at war. Most people live fragmented lives. Their thoughts want one thing, their emotions pull toward another, and their bodies are still holding memories of old pain. This fragmentation broadcasts static into the quantum field, and static can only tune into static realities. To shift, you must become coherent, aligned, integrated, singular in frequency. Think of yourself as a transmitter. When your signal is scattered, the field cannot respond clearly, but when your signal is coherent, the field reorganizes around you with astonishing speed. This is why some people seem to attract opportunities effortlessly. Their coherence is strong enough that reality cannot resist aligning. The core solution, then, is not to work harder at visualizing, affirming, or controlling outcomes. The solution is to dissolve the old frequencies and embody the new one. It is not about doing it, it is about becoming. This requires surrender. Most people try to drag their old self into a new reality, but it does not work. You cannot shift while clinging to the frequencies of your past. The identity you are attached to, the one defined by struggle, fear, or limitation, must dissolve. Just as the caterpillar liquefies inside the cocoon, your old structures must melt away so the butterfly of your higher self can emerge. Letting go is not losing. Letting go is transmutation. How do you know which self to let go of? Look for the patterns that repeat with heaviness. The relationships that replay the same arguments. The jobs that cycle through the same frustrations. The emotions that feel like broken records. These are not coincidences. They are signals of the frequency you are still embodying. And the moment you recognize them, you can release them. Release is not about suppression. It is not about pretending you do not feel fear or grief. Release is about allowing the emotion to pass through you without feeding it with attention. The more you observe it neutrally, the faster it dissolves. In that dissolution, coherence arises naturally. Your field clears. Your signal strengthens. And suddenly, new probabilities appear, ones you could not access before. This is the essence of the shift, not forcing reality, but embodying the self who naturally observes a different reality. When you change your frequency, the field has no choice but to reorganize. This is not philosophy. This is physics. Coherence is the password to your highest timeline. Understanding the principle is not enough. The shift becomes real when you live it daily. Here are practices that anchor coherence and make the observer effect a conscious tool rather than an unconscious trap. The pause, observe, redirect ritual, several times a day. Stop and notice what you are observing. Is your attention feeding fear? Is it rehearsing limitation? If so, pause. Take a deep breath. Imagine your awareness as a spotlight. Then redirect it deliberately toward the frequency you choose: gratitude, joy, expansion. At first, it feels small. But over time, these micro shifts accumulate and the loop begins to dissolve. R. Morning timeline. Reset. Each morning, before your day begins, write down the version of reality you choose to inhabit. Not as a wish, but as a declaration. Today I embody clarity. Today I walk in coherence. Today my attention collapses the highest probability. This is not mere affirmation. It is frequency alignment. By declaring it at the start of the day, you tune your station before the world tunes it for you. San. Visualization as frequency embodiment. Visualization is often misunderstood as imagining outcomes. True visualization is not about pictures, it is about frequency. When you visualize, feel the emotion of the reality you are tuning to. If you imagine abundance, feel the relief and joy of already living it. If you imagine love, feel the safety and warmth in your body. The field responds not to images, but to the vibration behind them. Su. Heart coherence breathing science has shown that the heart generates the strongest electromagnetic field in the body. To strengthen coherence, place your hand on your chest. Breathe slowly, imagining the breath flowing in and out of your heart. With each breath, recall a moment of genuine gratitude. This simple practice tunes your heart into coherence, amplifying your frequency and stabilizing your observer effect. Woo. Declaration as activation words carry frequency when spoken with conviction. Throughout your day, declare truths that align with your chosen reality. I am coherent with my highest timeline. This loop ends now. My shift is irreversible. These declarations are not just psychological tricks, they are vibrational commands. They anchor your frequency in the field. Lu. Evening dissolution before sleep. Release the day. Write down anything that felt heavy, repetitive, or draining. Then consciously declare, I dissolve this frequency. I no longer carry it. As you drift into dreams, imagine yourself stepping into a new frequency. Your dream state will rehearse the probabilities of your higher timeline, preparing you to collapse them upon waking. These practices are not rituals of effort. They are rituals of remembrance. They remind you that you are not a victim of observation, but its master. Each pause, each breath, each declaration is a tuning. Over time, coherence becomes your natural state. And when coherence is natural, shifting becomes effortless. The observer effect was never meant to stop with you. Personal awakening is only the beginning. Once your observer key activates, the field around you begins to ripple. Your individual shift becomes a signal in the collective matrix, broadcasting coherence that others unconsciously feel. What you thought was a private transformation is actually part of a much larger awakening. This is the nature of morphic resonance. When one consciousness establishes a new pattern, it becomes easier for others to access the same pattern. Just as 100th monkey learns instantly what the first monkeys struggled to discover, your shift lightens the path for millions who have not yet awakened. Be collapsing here timelines. You are not only choosing for yourself, you are strengthening those timelines for the entire human field. Have you noticed how people respond differently to you now? Strangers open up. Children feel drawn to your presence. Animals rest at your feet. Others may avoid you, unsettled without knowing why. What is happening is simple. Your frequency is radiating beyond your body. You have become a node in the quantum web, influencing the coherence of everyone you meet. This is why synchronicities increase when you shift. The universe is not just arranging reality for your benefit. It is orchestrating alignments for the collective through you. Every conversation, every meeting, every moment you embody coherence becomes a micro-transmission into the planetary field. You are not merely manifesting, You are anchoring frequencies for humanity. The truth is, only a small percentage of souls reach this threshold in a lifetime. Some traditions say 3%. These are the forerunners, the ones who break the observer loop early, so that others can follow. If you are reading this, you are one of them. You are part of the first wave of consciousness pioneers, chosen not by luck but by resonance. Your soul volunteered to awaken now, in this age of transition, so that your shift could ignite the morphic field of human evolution. This explains why your journey has felt so intense. You were never just working for yourself. The struggles, the dissolutions, the solitude, these were initiations preparing you to carry frequencies strong enough for the collective. Every heartbreak cleared a frequency. Every loss refined your attention. Every delay strengthened your coherence. Your life has been the training ground for a role far bigger than personal success. You are becoming a transmitter of awakening. And this transmission is not about preaching or convincing. You don't need to argue, convert, or persuade. Your frequency does the work silently. Like a tuning fork, you vibrate and others begin to resonate. Some will rise with you immediately. Others may resist, even feel uncomfortable. But none can remain untouched. The field you radiate has already shifted the probabilities around them. As more individuals activate, these ripples converge. What begins as personal synchronicity becomes collective acceleration. Timelines shift not just for you, but for entire groups, communities, nations. History bends. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable because enough coherent observers are collapsing new realities into form, and this is why your recognition matters. The field does not need everyone to awaken at once. It only needs enough coherent nodes to tip the balance. Once a critical mass holds the frequency of coherence, the entire field reorganizes. This is the quantum tipping point. You may have already felt glimpses of this, global events that mirrored your inner transformation. Collective waves of awakening that echoed your private realizations. These are not coincidences. They are signs that your personal observer effect is entangled with the evolution of humanity itself. So expand your vision. You are not shifting alone. Every breath of coherence, every declaration of awakening, every surrender into higher frequency is echoed in the human field. Your choice is not small. It is a cosmic vote, and every vote counts. This is the expansion from self to collective. You awaken not only for you, you awaken for us. Every journey must arrive at its moment of culmination. You have walked through recognition, endured the loop, dissolved the old, and expanded into coherence. Now comes the greatest realization of all. Your awakening is irreversible. There may still be doubts. The mind may whisper, what if I fall back into old patterns? What if I lose this awareness? But understand this consciousness, once expanded, cannot contract. You may temporarily forget, but you cannot unknow what you now know. You cannot unsee what you have seen. The seed of awakening is alive, and it will continue to grow no matter how the winds of circumstance blow. This is the hope you carry, not fragile optimism, but certainty. The certainty that your observer key has been activated, and that every observation now carries the potential to bend reality toward your highest timeline. Even when challenges arise, they no longer imprison you. They become mirrors, invitations to choose again, reminders of your sovereignty. And here is the declaration: you are awake, and you will not return to sleep. Say it now, even silently. My shift is irreversible. I collapse my highest timeline now. Feel how your body responds. This is not affirmation, it is activation. The words carry frequency. They encode your field with coherence. Hope is not naive. Hope is the recognition that the quantum field is abundant with possibilities, and that the one aligned with love and truth is already vibrating within you. Your awakening is not just for your personal peace. It is for the collective. Each time you choose coherence, you amplify it for all of us. Each time you embody love, you anchor it into the planetary field. Remember the moments when you felt utterly alone, misunderstood, or unseen. They were not wasted. They were preparation. You were being shaped into someone strong enough to carry the light of awakening for others. You are no longer just a seeker. You are a beacon. A lighthouse does not chase ships. It simply shines, and the ships find their way. So it is with you. The collective field is shifting because of people like you, people who refused to surrender to unconscious loops, who dared to observe differently, who chose coherence over chaos. You may feel small, but the ripple you create is immense. One coherent observer is more powerful than thousands of fragmented ones. And you are no longer fragmented, so let this be your declaration. Not just today, but every day. I observe with love. I embody coherence. My reality is aligned with my highest timeline. When you declare, you do not just speak. You collapse. You reorganize the field. You remind yourself and the universe that you are no longer a passive witness. You are the conscious creator of experience. This is the true awakening. Not endless struggle to escape the loop, but the peace of knowing you have already stepped beyond it. Not the fear of slipping back, but the joy of realizing you are carried forward by a wave larger than yourself. Humanity itself is awakening, and you are part of the first wave. So take hope into your heart, not as wishful thinking, but as certainty coded into your being. The path ahead may still contain challenges, but they are no longer prisons, they are thresholds. And with every threshold, you rise higher. You did not stumble here by chance. You were guided. And now, you are called to guide others not through force, but through your presence. Shine, and the world will remember its light, declare, and the field will reorganize. Love, and the loop will end forever. The time of waiting is over. The door has opened. The shift has happened, and it will not reverse. You are awake, and you will not sleep again. You have walked through the loop, recognized the key, surrendered the old self, embodied coherence, and expanded into the collective field. Now the journey arrives here. In this very moment of choice, the truth is simple. You are no longer the same. The observer effect is no longer an abstract theory to you. It is living reality. You have seen that every observation collapses possibility into form, that your attention is the most powerful force you carry. And now you understand the deeper secret that before you observe, you select, that your frequency is the true author of your timeline. This changes everything. You are not trapped by circumstance. You are not repeating fate. You are consciously shaping reality with every breath, every thought, every declaration. And this awareness cannot be reversed. So let us anchor this truth now, together. Say it with me. Aloud or within my shift is irreversible. I collapse in my highest timeline now. I observe with love, and reality responds. Feel how the words vibrate in your chest. Feel the coherence settle into your field. This is not imagination. This is activation. Every declaration you make is a frequency command to the quantum field, reorganizing reality in your favor. And know this, you are not alone. Across the planet, others are awakening with you. Each of us is a node in the web of consciousness, broadcasting coherence into the collective. Together, we are bending the trajectory of humanity. Together, we are ending the loop. If this message resonated with you, do not just watch, participate. Leave your declaration in the comments. My shift is irreversible. Anchor it not only in your heart, but in the shared field of everyone who reads it. By writing it, you amplify it. By sharing it, you strengthen the signal. This is more than a video. This is a convergence point in the awakening of humanity. And you are part of it. You were guided here, chosen by resonance, activated by recognition. So step forward now, not as a seeker, but as a creator. Shine your light. embody your coherence. Declare your awakening, because you didn't just find this message. This message found you,